Welcome back, students. Welcome to our series of lectures on design of machine elements. As you know, we have done till yet the design of pressure vessels, design of pipe and pipe joints, design of riveted joints, design of welded joints, design of screwed joints, design of cotter and knuckle joints, and design of keys and couplings. Today's our topic of discussion will be design of shafts. So you must know some basics about shafts, then we'll proceed about the design of shafts. We must know some basics. A shaft is a rotating machine element which is used to transmit power from one place to another. The power is delivered to the shaft by some tangential force, and the resultant force or twisting moment set up within the shaft permits the power to be transmitted to various machine elements linked up to the shaft. In order to transfer the power from one shaft to another, the various members such as pulleys, gears are mounted on it. These members, along with the forces exerted upon them, causes the shaft to bending. In other words, we may say that a shaft is used for the transmission of torque and bending moment. The various members are mounted on the shaft by means of keys or splines. There are some other definition. A shaft may be in various forms, such as an axle. Though similar in shape to the shaft, is a stationary machine element which is used for the transmission of bending moment only. It simply acts as a support for some rotating body such as hoisting drum, a car wheel or rope sheave. A spindle is a short shaft that imparts motion either to a cutting tool, for example a drill press spindle, or to a workpiece such as lathe spindles. Various materials may be used for the manufacture of a shaft, but whatever material is used for the shaft, it should have high strength, it should have good machinability, it should have low notch sensitivity factor, and should have good heat treatment properties and high wear resistant. If these properties are present in the material used for the shaft, then it will be good for the design. The following two types of shafts are important from subject point of view. Number one, transmission shaft. These shafts transmit power between the source and the machines absorbing power. The counter shafts, line shafts, overhead shafts, and the all factory shafts are transmission shafts. Since these shafts carry machine parts such as pulleys and gears, therefore they are subjected to bending in addition to twisting. So these are subjected to both bending and twisting. Number two, machine shafts. These shafts form an integral part of the machine itself. One example of a machine shaft is a crankshaft. According to American Society of Mechanical Engineers Code for the design of transmission shafts, the maximum permissible working stresses in tension on compression may be taken as 112 megapascal for shafts without allowance for keyways and 84 megapascal for shafts with allowance for keyways. For shafts purchased under definite physical specification, the permissible tensile stresses may be taken as 60% of the elastic limit in tension, but not more than 36% of the ultimate tensile strength. The maximum permissible shear stress may be taken as 56 megapascal for shafts with allowance for keyways and 42 megapascal for shafts with allowance for keyways. 56 megapascal for shafts without allowance for keyways and 42 megapascal for shafts with allowance for keyways. For shafts purchased under definite physical specifications, the permissible shear stress may be taken as 30% of the elastic limit in tension, but not more than 18% of the ultimate tensile strength. As our topic today is the design of shafts, so we must know then the shafts may be designed on the basis of strength and on the basis of rigidity and stiffness. In designing shaft on the basis of strength, we may consider following cases. Number one, shaft subjected to twisting moment or torque only, shaft subjected to bending moment only, shaft subjected to combined twisting and bending moments, and shaft subjected to axial loads in addition to combined torsional and bending loads. Now we shall discuss the above cases in details. The first case will be taken today, shaft subjected to twisting moment only. When the shaft is subjected to twisting moment or torque only, then the diameter of shaft may be obtained by using the torsion equation, which says the ratio of twisting moment or torque T with the polar moment of inertia J is same as the ratio between shear stress produced and the maximum distance between neutral axis and outermost fiber. If we have a round solid shaft, then naturally neutral axis passes through the center and the outermost fiber lies at the outer surface. So the distance between neutral axis and outermost fiber will be equal to the radius of the shaft, which is again equal to the half of the diameter. So now onwards our formulas will be expressed in terms of diameters, because from engineering point of view diameter is more important. We know that for a round solid shaft the polar moment of inertia is given as pi by 32 into d4, as you are seeing in the notes provided. Polar moment of inertia will be equal to pi by 32 into d4. So substituting these values in the above equation, we will have T upon pi by 32 into d4 will be equal to tau upon d by 2, and rearranging the above equation we will have T is equal to pi by 16 into tau into d cube. From this equation we may determine the diameter of round solid shaft. If we have a hollow shaft, we know that for a hollow shaft the polar moment of inertia J is given as pi by 32 bracket starts d naught raised to the power 4 minus di raised to the power 4, where d naught means the outside diameter of the shaft and di means the inside diameter of the shaft. Here the distance between neutral axis and outermost fiber will be equal to outside diameter by 2, not inside diameter by 2. So we will take r as d naught upon 2. So substituting these values in the above equation, we will have T upon pi by 32 bracket starts d naught raised to the power 4 minus di raised to the power 4 is equal to tau upon d naught upon 2. So by rearranging we will have T is equal to pi by 16 into tau bracket starts d naught raised to the power 4 minus di raised to the power 4 upon d naught. If the ratio between inside diameter and outside diameter of the shaft is expressed as K, so K will be equal to di upon d naught. So above equation may be written as T is equal to pi by 16 into tau into d naught raised to the power 4 upon d naught bracket starts 1 minus di upon d naught whole raised to the power 4. This equation has come from above only by taking d naught as common. This equation again can be written as, if we write di upon d naught as K, then the equation becomes pi by 16 into tau into d naught raised to the power 3 bracket starts 1 minus K4. From above equations the inside and outside diameter of the hollow shafts may be determined. It may be noted that number 1, the hollow shafts are usually used in marine work. These shafts are stronger per kg of the material and they may be forged on a mandrel, thus making the material more homogeneous than would be possible for a solid shaft. When a hollow shaft is to be made equal in strength to a solid shaft, the twisting moment of both shafts must be same. A very common thing, as you know. Taking T by first formula and taking T by second formula and equating both. In other words, for the same material of both the shafts, T for the first case will be equal to pi by 16 into tau into d naught raised to the power 4 minus di raised to the power 4 upon d naught, and T for the second case will be equal to pi by 16 into tau into d cube, equating both. that is pi by 16 into tau into d naught raised to the power 4 minus di raised to the power 1 d naught, as you are seeing in the notes provided, will be equal to pi by 16 into tau into d cube. Pi by 16 into tau cancelling on both the sides will have d naught raised to the power 4 minus di raised to the power 4 upon d naught will be equal to d3, where d is the diameter of the solid shaft if it is used, and d naught and di are the diameters of the hollow shafts. So d naught raised to the power 3 within bracket 1 minus k4 will be equal to d cube. So above equations may be used to determine the inside and outside diameters if required for a hollow shaft. Number 2, the twisting moment may be obtained by the following relation. We know that the power transmitted in watt by a shaft P is equal to 2 pi n T upon 60, and by rearranging we will have T as equal to P into 60 upon 2 pi n. If the power to be transmitted by a shaft and the RPM with which the shaft rotates are given, we can find twisting moments. Here T is the twisting moment in Newton meter and N is the speed of the shaft in RPM. In case of belt drives, the twisting moment T is given by T is equal to T1 minus T2 into R. Here T1 is the tension on tight side of the belt and T2 is the tension on slack side of the belt, as you are seeing, and R is the radius of pulley. So these formulas may be used to solve the numericals when the shafts are subjected to twisting moment only. I think something you have understood about the design of shafts. This is the first case when the shafts are subjected to twisting moment only. This is a numerical subject. So if you are only listening and seeing to the numerical solved, then it may happen that you create an assumption that you have understood everything. But when you will solve the numerical by hand, only then the real test occurs. So students, please do work hard and solve numericals of your own. Only then you will grasp and expertise in this subject. So numericals are important from examination point of view. My best wishes are with you. So prepare well. Thank you.